Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Political Chit Chat. Fuck it, I'm going again. Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 53 of Trails in the Pod. I'm Colin, that's Kevin.
Today's episode is the hit best-selling game, Ys vs. Sora no Kiseki.
Yes, and I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this because I feel like we've been negative in the past couple of episodes, but we can be really positive about this one. I do want to state from the beginning that this is more impressions rather than a full-on review. Both of us have beaten the story mode, and I've experimented a little bit with arcade mode, but it's not like we've exhaustively gone through and, 100% of this game, which I can see myself doing in my own time. But we wanted to make sure we got this episode out in a timely manner.
So let's give a brief rundown of this game. It was made for the PSP, and it combines a lot of Falcom intellectual properties, most notably the Kiseki series and then the Ys series. But it's not an RPG. It's a fighting, beat-em-up type game.
I would still call this an RPG. It's more of an RPG. Yes, it's a fighting game, but it has a lot stronger RPG elements than most fighting games. You actually do earn experience and levels that directly impact your ability to fight.
It was released between Trails the Third and Crossbell in 2010, and so we see a lot of setting up for the Crossbell arc. We see Lloyd, we see Ren, we see Joshua and Estelle talk to Lloyd saying how they want to meet him in Crossbell, so it's a bit of a nice little bridge between the two parts of the series.
Yeah, I will say, I don't think that this game is canon at all. It's not like Joshua and Estelle are going to say, oh yeah, I remember that time that I got sent off to the land of Xanadu and met this guy, when, they meet each other in Trails from Zero. But I do think it's interesting that this game was clearly designed with Trails from Zero in mind, right? There's a stage that is from the center of Crossbell. There's a song from Trails from Zero in this game. It was clearly being made at the same time or even after Trails from Zero was finished.
And that's something to keep in mind, and how it's really interesting for a kind of I don't want to say throwaway, but tertiary game that Falcom put out takes pains and takes care to integrate into the world that they were and still are making.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it's something that I found pretty interesting. I was telling you a couple of days ago that I tried to find walkthroughs for this game so I could see how many stages are in story mode or what does BP do, or you're just trying to find information about it. And you find a couple of forum posts here and there, but I can't find a single English language FAQ on this game or English language walkthrough. And yet, this game is really well designed. It's very jam-packed with features and jam-packed with things that will make Falcom fans very happy. Jam-packed with content in a way that is not superficial, it's not throwaway game. This is a very good game that we just never got here, and therefore the English-speaking world does not talk about it, even though it's been translated by the Geofront for a year and a half, 2 years.
Something else that fans of the Falcom games will like, Colin, is the unnecessary yet weirdly central fan service with the images.
The images are pretty cool. I really there's a lot of variety and depicting both Ys and Trails in the Sky.
You get to see all sorts of characters from Ys and Trails in the Sky in revealing skimpy outfits, so they do a lot to build the lore and canon.
I didn't see that many skimpy outfits. It was mostly cool stuff, like Reese and Kevin going on a shopping trip, or cover art from different covers of the games. I didn't see Estelle in a bikini or anything, if that's what you're talking about.
I didn't see any of that. My loading image screens were people in bath towels or people in the bath. What the fuck?
I mean, I saw that too. I mean, those
you
were
didn't see Kevin.
They're from. Oh, there's a. Well, I think I played the game a bit more than you did, just because I grinded a lot. And so there a couple of times there's a scene in which Kevin and Reese are at a market someplace, and Reese is buying food.
Well, the game was holding out on me.
But before we talk about the fan service based stuff, we've alluded to the fact that this is a fighting game with RPG elements. Do you want to talk about the story first? Do we want to talk about gameplay first?
Let's do the story. You begin by selecting your, I don't want to say player character or avatar, the person that you play as, among a number of possibilities from the Sora and the Ys fandoms from the East and the Kiseki fandoms. You picked Estelle, and I picked Chloe, correct?
Okay. I mean, I didn't know that you picked Chloe, but I did pick Estelle, yeah.
And then, so you take your person through a variety of stages, beating people up to bring them to their senses to either desert the evil Garcellus or join your cause, and then fight Garcellus. It's a pretty linear, basic,
His name is not Garcellus, his name is Gelsis.
whatever.
I mean, I was just bringing that up, like,
Gausis, Garcellus, Causis.
I mean, I only brought that up in case, like, maybe you had played with a different translation, even though I think we played the same ISO. So I'm curious. The way that Estelle's story starts is that the second fight is Chloe. The first one is maybe the first fight even is Chloe. It's either I think it's Chloe and then it goes Tita, or something like that. But you've experienced a lot of early Sora no Kiseki characters early on, and then we find the Ease character. How did that go with Chloe? Like, when did you even meet Estelle?
Fight 6, Fight 7, maybe. The first fight was some woman from the East series. Number 2 was Tita, and then a couple more from the East series, and a couple more from Kiseki, and so forth.
I now that I think about it, the first fight was Elk, and then it was Chloe, then Tita, and then Joshua with this monster kind of guy that you had to fight. But the hook of the game is that there's this world called Xanadu, which Falcom aficionados, while I've never played these games, might recognize the fact that there is a Xanadu series. Originally, like, way back in the early days on, like, PC Engine, maybe even NES, and on PS4, there's a game Tokyo Xanadu, which I do own, and I've heard fantastic things about. But so that's a nod to Falcom history. But heroes from both Sora no Kiseki and the E series mostly centered around characters from E7, although Chester from E's Oath and Filgan is also in it, are brought into this world with the intention of stopping the Dragon King, Gelsis. But unfortunately, everybody has been taken over except your player character. And so, as Kevin alluded to, your job is to go around and beat them up with a big stick, and then when they're defeated, Lappy casts a spell on them that brings them back to their senses.
What is Xanadu? Is that a made-up name? Well, no, it's not. It has a pretty deep and interesting history in the English language. It's a generic name for an far-off Eastern-inspired fantasy realm. And that's kind of what we see here. It's an old name for the ancient Chinese Mongol Yuan capital of Chengdu, and it was really popularized in the English Anglophone world in the early 1800s with the poem Kubla Khan by Coleridge, one of the great romantic poems ever. And it begins, in Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man down to a sunless sea. And then it goes on to explain this idyllic realm where reality isn't quite the same as it is in ours. And so that's something interesting to think about. Why did they pick this name for the series, Falcom way back when, that they referenced in this game here? I don't think it was an accident that this was an otherworld type realm, adjacent but not part of normal reality.
Certainly possible. I think in order to answer that question, we would have to go back and actually play the early Xanadu games. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, the fact that this world is called Xanadu that we're in right now is mostly just a reference to the Falcom series, and we see this as well when we get to the MacGuffin that we have to find. It's revealed about 3/4 of the way through the story mode that there was a guy called the Archmage who was able to defeat the Dragon King, and he did that through something called the Dragon Slayer, a sword called the Dragon Slayer. And to those that have read the Falcom Wikipedia page will recognize that both Xanadu, the series, and the Legend of Heroes series, of which the Trail series is a subsidiary part of the Legend of Heroes series, both of these series came from Dragon Slayer, which was one of Falcom's biggest series. So Xanadu comes from Dragon Slayer 2, Xanadu, and The Legend of Heroes was originally Dragon Slayer 6 or 7. I think Dragon Slayer stopped after that, and it's just become Ayu Densetsu from then on. But I kind of really like these like nods and hints at Falcom history, really showing that this is more of a celebration of Falcom itself than just Ys and Ayu Densetsu.
Colin, for dismissing my interrogation of Xanadu in the Anglophone community and its expression in this game, you can fuck a doodle doo.
I don't want to fuck a doodle do.
We've talked about the story, such as it is. Maybe I'm being snarky.
Yeah, there's really not much story here. The story is very bare bones. I don't think you played this game for the story. I will say the voice acting seems pretty good. Everything is voice acted. Even Adol has some voice acting, which is weird for him.
Kind of odd for what seems to be a throwaway game. But speaking of that, Colin, something very important happened in the voice acting. Did you capture it?
What happened?
Maybe it's because I played Chloe, however, but I heard her name get spoken a bunch of times, and let me tell you, not once,
Yeah.
Colin, not once was it Close. It was Chloe.
When I was playing through Estelle's route, she was explicitly called Close with an S. 100%.
What the fuck?
Now, her name is Close, dude.
No one called her that in my route.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should go back and play Chloe's route, but I know for a fact she was called Close by Estelle when she sees her. Why'd you pick Chloe?
Well, you picked Estelle. She's, big, buff, up in your face melee. I picked Chloe, or Close, because I thought, it'd be arts, magic, maybe a bit of range, but it turns out, no, it was melee with some arts type special SP attacks added on.
I played Chloe a little bit in the beginning because there's this fight in the very beginning where have to fight against Joshua and a monster that you had to pick somebody else to fight with you. So I picked Chloe and tried to grind her up a little bit so that she would be useful in the fight. And then I promptly gave up and just realized that if I grinded out Estelle, she could just handle both. But I liked how Chloe played.
What do you mean grind up Chloe? Because I only ever saw options to play as Chloe in my route and not the people I was with.
Yeah. So if you go outside of the story mode, one thing that you'll learn when you go through to do arcade mode or free play mode is that the attributes that you earn in the story mode go back to the outside game and vice versa. So you could go play Chloe in free play mode, get her up to level 5, and then when you play a story mode with Chloe, she'll start at level 5. All the characters' levels and stats and equipment is game wide. It's not specific to story mode. It's one of the reasons why I spent a lot of time grinding, because I figured if I wanted to do more with the game, it wasn't just going to pay off in story mode. Let's talk about grinding for a bit, because there's a lot of things that you have to grind for in this game that I think make this game really interesting.
I did not feel the need to grind much. Now, I played on the normal difficulty. I didn't really know you could change it until 80% of the way through the game. So, the first time I had to grind was the first boss fight against Olivier in the Abyssal Beast. I had to go replay a level against Tita once to get another level, and then I would play, you have, say, 3 levels per stage per boss fight area. I would play maybe 4. So I'd replay one once and then fight. And I found that was more than plenty enough to keep ahead of the difficulty curve.
I think you're probably right, because I'll tell you right now that I grinded so much that there was no challenge in the story mode, and I kind of wanted it to be that way, but I'm just putting that out there. I think that you probably got a more fulfilling experience fight to fight than I did. So there are 2 kinds of things you can grind for in this game, which is either experience points to get levels, or you can get Mona points, which is basically the money you spend in the shop, which will include buying skills, and upgrading equipment. And Kevin, I'm going to put it this way. I threw a party last night in which lots of shots were taken by the birthday boy, and I took a couple as well, and so I did not wake up today in the best of sorts. So when I sat down to play Ys vs. Sora no Kiseki, I needed something relaxing, I needed something that my mind could rest on, but I still was making progress. And what I realized is that these fights give very generous amounts of Mona points and experience, even if they only take you 30 seconds to do. So I beat the fuck out of Olivier 20 times before I went back to fight the first boss fight. For you, it was Olivier. I had to fight Joshua. Olivier was my 3rd fight, I think. And then what I started to do as a pattern is that every time I would win a fight, I do that fight 15 times.
What the fuck, Colin?
And I have a podcast going, and I just destroy them 15 times, get the experience, get all the Mona points. So I upgraded my equipment all the way to the max, to level 10. By the time I finished the adventure, the final boss is level 30. I was level 60. Literally nobody could kill me because when they attacked me, they did 9 damage. And I attacked them, and it would do 300 damage per swing.
I don't know what to say to this. Beyond what the fuck, 1. 2, God. 3, I don't know what to say to this.
Well, The reason why I bring it up is because, and I was telling you this today when we were texting about it, is that the game is very similar to Ease in the fact that the combat is very fast and the game offers you very quick rewards, which is like one of the problems with grinding in Trails specifically is that as you get stronger, the amount of experience you get gets lower and the more experience you need gets larger. So there's really a disincentive to grind because it's painful, it's slow, it's tedious. The same is not true in Ease games. In Ease games, yeah, you might get a little bit less experience and you might need a little bit more experience, but the combat is so fast that you don't even think about it. You just turn your brain off, put something on YouTube, and plow through enemies, and then reset the room and plow through enemies again. And the combat's fun to do, so it's really just repeating a fun thing and then seeing yourself get stronger by virtue of just putting in the time. It is not uncommon in an Ease game to just spend 20 minutes killing the same pack of enemies over and over again and being absolutely okay with doing it. And this game, it does the same thing because you know that if you just spent 5 minutes repeating the same fight, you could get a better sword easily by the end of that. And it just keeps moving the goalposts so that you just keep wanting to do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So even while I was grinding, I never once was bored. I never once thought, okay, I really wish I didn't have to do it. I know that I didn't have to do it. I chose to do it because the reward structure it kept being tantalizing. To the point where at the end of it, I even got the full equipment. I was level 58. And I knew that I could just go in and fight the final boss and win it easily. But I said, no. I'm going to do this final fight against Lova, Chester, and Ren 2 more times, just so I can get an even 60. And I did that, and then went and fought the final boss, because it was fun.
Yeah, I have a question, and I mean this in the most loving, respectful way possible after hearing you talk in disturbing detail about how often you would repeat these stages. Did you spend a lot of time on MMORPGs when you were a kid?
Yeah, I played a lot of World of Warcraft. Like, a lot of it.
Just gonna throw this out there. For some reason, after hearing that little spiel, would you be insulted, Colin, if I said that did not surprise me?
No, I mean, especially if I think back to how I played WoW. I was addicted to WoW at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, which, to those who knows what that means, is that there's a badge system in which you could keep grinding up to, like, get incrementally better equipment, and I would literally grind that all day. I was thinking about this today. The kind of grinding structure that this game provides, with its constant rewards, is very similar to that of like a mobile game, in which you're constantly being rewarded for playing it, even if your mindset is off. But the difference is that in this game, it is not a trick to get you to spend more money. Rather, it is just another thing for you to spend time doing, and to have fun with. The game also has a philosophy that, how do I put this? When you spend money in the shop's level goes up. And as the shop's level goes up, more and more things become available for you to buy. What level did you get to?
35, I do declare.
Well, 35 on your character, I mean for your shop.
Oh, 942.
No, you didn't.
They could just call me a liar, I'll let that go.
Well, I just know how much Mona points I had spent, and I got to level 9 in the shop. So I know that you did not get to level 900.
I might have.
The reason why I bring this up is that, yes, there are gameplay things in the Mona shop. Either you can buy skills, you can buy equipment, you can also buy accessories that will impact how your character performs in combat. But you can also do things like buy additional stages. But also, you can do things like buy themes for your PSP. Kevin, did you ever have a PSP growing up?
No, I would not have been able to play Cold Steel on a PSP.
That's because it never existed on the PSP. It first started on the Vita. You could play Sora no Kiseki on the PSP, but the PSP was the first, might not be strictly true, but it was certainly more in depth than the DS, but it was one of the first consoles to have a menu, in which instead of just, like with the Game Boy Advance, you put it in the cartridge, you turn it on, and the game starts, right? Whereas with the DS, you turn it on, you have to then select the game you want to play, because you could have settings, or you could go to Nintendo DS cartridge or Game Boy Advance cartridge. With the PSP, you would start it up, and it would be the cross-media bar, the same thing that you see on a PS3. This is where it comes from. And on this media bar, you have a background image, you have a bunch of different icons, for things like your music player or your video player, or you can browse the web. This The PSP also had online play, so you could log on to the PlayStation servers and buy games on their shop. It was pretty ahead of its time in terms of UI design for a portable console. But you could also buy themes for that. You could buy themes for a couple bucks a piece, and it would change the background image, it would change how the icons look, it would change the song that's being played in the background. With this game, if you just spend some time grinding out BP, you can buy those themes in the shop. It's included on the game itself, which you can then apply outside of the game onto your PSP. And that's cool. We don't see anything like that anymore.
No, I like that. It's a way to play the game for reasons outside of the game itself and provides a lasting little memento. When you put the game down and move on to other things, every time you see an icon change, or wallpaper, or hear a song, or what say you have a nice, pleasant little reminder of this game was good.
It also provides you with more of a reason to play the game. Like, for instance, I
Yes.
can go and grind out some BP right now and go unlock all of those themes. And then I'll have them on my PSTV for use with my PSP emulator on that for as long as I have them on there. But it's a reason for me to go and play instead of just saying, okay, I beat the story, now I'm done with it.
Yeah, and that's something that games, it's a for story games, what incentive do you give the player to play it after they beat it besides just, replay to experience it again? Having this sort of non exterior benefits and bonuses extends the shelf life of the game.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I say that I think this game does it really well. Because look at all the different
Yes.
ways you can play this game. Number one, you have story mode. You can do story mode with each individual character. On top of that, there are characters to unlock the more you play. So upon finishing a stealth story, I unlocked a character. I also looked stuff up online, and you can unlock characters by getting more BP, which you earn kind of slowly, but you get more as you complete more objectives that are hidden from you. But this includes that you can unlock Ren as a playable character. You can unlock Luva as a playable character. You can unlock Lloyd. You can unlock Lloyd as a playable character. He takes a fuck ton of BP to get Lloyd, but you can do it. And then all of them will have story modes for themselves. They also all have arcade modes that you can play through in order to get more BP and more experience and more Mona points and everything. So there's a lot of ways to interact with this game. But the game never feels slow. It's constantly pick up and play, right? A battle only takes like anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes. It's not going to go beyond that. It's kind of for that reason. So I was playing it on my PlayStation TV, which is a PS Vita that's been consoleized. And you played it on PSP emulation. I want to talk about our experiences with that. But one thing that I wish I had done was to hack my PS Vita that I have and put it on that. That way, when I go to Colorado in a couple of days, I could easily see myself playing that and on the airport. And you'll play a couple of battles here, go grab a drink here, play a couple of battles here on the plane. It's designed for a handheld experience.
I kind of feel like now I maybe have missed out a bit by not being able to do that. And I knew that you could unlock characters. You unlocked Josette, I did Analyst, but Ren, Luva, I had no idea about that. That's fascinating. They were fun to play against. I'm sure they're fun to play as, and there's a lot of depth hidden beneath the surface of this game that I had no idea that it existed.
Yeah, I would agree with you on this in that it appears to be very simple at first. The combat appears very simple, but I'll tell you, after I pulverized everybody, I then went into arcade mode because I assumed at level 60 Estelle would kick everybody's butt. But no, arcade mode seems to be pretty well balanced for people who have leveled up a lot. Because then I had to actually fight the people mano a mano, and that was a lot of fun. It forced me to actually play the game in some ways. But the combat, it's robust. Knowing when to use certain skills, knowing when to activate your extra ability, knowing when to use your support. Kevin alluded to unlocking Analyst and Josette. These are support characters in which you can do it once per battle, and it'll give a stat bonus. Josette increases defense. You start off with a guy who will increase attack. I don't know what Analyst does, but these are things that you can mix and match. You can unlock stuff and then change who it is, and therefore it increases justice. But it's just another thing that you can do to customize your way to play this game.
You must know a lot about justice, Can you tell me the difference between a just thing and justice?
Dude, it has been a long time since I've read The Republic. Why are you going all Socratic today?
I'm just curious. You seem to be so very wise, whereas I assure you know nothing about it. Is justice just because it is just, or are people just because they do just things?
Are you asking the question of does God command you to do something because it is just, or is something just because God commands you to do it?
I'm just asking a simple question, Colin. A simple question with a simple answer. Is the pious being loved by the gods because it is pious, or it is pious because it is being loved by the gods? It's a yes or no answer, Colin.
I mean, you just said the same fucking thing twice.
Wow, Colin, I'm disappointed in you.
In any case, so I think it's pretty clear to say that I really like this. What did you think?
I thought it was a good game. Can it solve the Euthyphro dilemma? No, but I'll let it slide on that account. The combat was fun. The story was passable. I liked hearing Chloe because I always thought Close just sounded odd. And the little character bits felt true to the characters. Olivier was a good natured creep, but a creep nonetheless, and people were like, kind of
Yeah,
weird, Olivier, just kind of weird. And then Joshua and Estelle tell Ren, one day we're going to catch up to you, and fun game. I'm glad I played it.
I think it'd be fun to go back after like playing more of the Ease games too. Like we're approaching this from a very Kiseki centric perspective, right? But a lot of those characters from E7, which is on my list to get at, and I have a feeling I would feel the same way about those characters had I the context.
So, what more do you want to talk about?
What I thought might be interesting to talk about, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time that you have ever done PSP emulation. And so, how was your experience with that? Because you played this on the PC, I think.
Yes, you're right. Well, first, I played the first two matches with the keyboard because I wanted to be able to tell you, huh, Colin, I was able to beat this fine on a keyboard, no controller necessary. Then I realized my error, my mistake, my bad. So I went and plugged in my Xbox Bluetooth as quickly as I could and played the rest of the game with a controller.
And so, how was the process of setting up PSP emulation for you? Was it pretty easy? Were there hoops to go through?
It was easy. I've played ISO files from torrent, from things before.
I know that there was an HD texture pack. Did you decide to use that, or did you just play it normal?
Played it normal, like God intended.
So now I'm curious about that because I play a lot of games with janky 3D graphics that look like they're a mess of pixels, but you don't. What did you think about this game's graphic style?
That was fine. I was a bit surprised when I learned it came out in 2010. It felt a bit granular for that. I would have guessed '05 maybe, but the graphics were not what I focused on. It was the gameplay, and the gameplay was good, fun, had a good mix of
Sure.
diversity and simplicity.
So as I alluded to, I played on the PSTV, which if you can get one now for they've gotten more expensive, but if you can get one for cheap and you're interested in playing PSP games, I'm not speaking about you specifically, but people who are listening, I highly recommend picking one up because, as I said, it's basically a PS Vita but consoleized. So it hooks up to your TV. You can plug in a PS3 or a PS4 controller, and then if you hack it, you can unlock the official PSP emulator on it, and you can load in ISOs from anything that you want. Vita images, but also PSP images, also PS1 images because the PSP could play all PS1 ISOs, and then especially if you use something like Sharp Scale, which is a hack that you can do to increase its graphical output. The thing looks great on a 4K TV, and in my opinion, it is the best way to play PSP because everything is scaled very sharply. It looks great on the big screen, but then you're also like sitting back on the couch enjoying it as opposed to playing in a very like if you want to do quote unquote real hardware, it's better than just playing on an actual PSP, which I have a few, but I never use them.
Cool.
I will say there has not been a game like this released since, and I really hope that at some point Falcom decides to revisit this concept because I could easily see a Ys versus Senno Kiseki or any kind of Ys versus Kiseki with much more increased cast from the Kiseki side, obviously with Cross Bell and Cold Steel, and hell, even going into Kuro. But then with Ys, you also have games like Ys 8. People have a lot of characters they like from that. Ys 9, they could expand it to even some of the earlier stuff. Ys 10's coming out soon. I could easily see this being like, not quite Super Smash Brothers level, but maybe a bit of a stronger story, refined mechanics, better graphics, more characters. I'd buy it in a heartbeat, easily.
Yeah, this is an easy game to do DLC, to do repeatable content expansion packs. What say you? For that, maybe I have no idea about game dev. Would not take that much time, effort. I'd play more. I'd buy a localized version.
Well, Kevin, unless you have anything else, I think we have to get started on Trails from Zero, the prologue.
I'm looking forward to the crossbow games. You have been hyping them up so much. I really hope they are everything you speak of and more.
I will say, just to warn you, when I first played Trails from Zero, my first impression was I don't connect to these characters as much as I did to Sky. And that's because I had spent 3 games with the Sky characters and 5 minutes with the people from Crossbell. But they did grow on me, so give yourself enough time for that.
Well, and I'm curious to see how I connect to them. I guess what I'm saying, closer in my life to where they are than Joshua and Estelle.
I thought that. I just looked at the art book because I opened up my Trails from Zero Collector's Edition before we started recording because I'm going to go play it after this. And I checked out the art book. Turns out Lloyd's 18. I thought he was like 22, 23.
God fucking damn it, Colin.
I said that Randy was middle aged. Dude's 21.
Okay, whatever. Fine. I don't even care anymore. A fucking detective. And from the way he talked, like, this is not his first day on the goddamn job. 18 years old. What the hell, Colin?
Hey, I didn't make up the ages. I'm reporting information.
Trails from Zero. God help us all. Until next time, I'm Kevin. That's Colin.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye bye.